Welcome back. We got the BRAP, so the team has been busy. We've got our green 20B back into the Formula Drift RX8 chassis. Like I said, thank you, team. Obviously, I'm not doing this all alone, especially when it comes to the race car. So shout out to everybody who's been helping me make it happen. We've got our bodywork on. We're getting ready to go to wrap. The engine's in, and a bunch of other maintenance is also going on. Like the gearbox is out getting maintained, and injectors are getting serviced. New fuel filters. We've got some new interior parts coming. It's all coming together really quickly. But I figured I would continue the conversation about the motor now that it's in the car, and also apologize because I accidentally mislabeled the rotors that are in this motor. And one of the followers, one of our subscribers, mentioned it. Hey, I think you said that wrong, and he was absolutely right. They are Series 4 non-turbo rotors. So second generation RX7 FC NA rotors. So I kind of said something about Series 4, Series 2, basically was not accurate in its entirety in the last video. What I was meaning was, hey, they're Series 4 FC3S second generation NA rotors. So that's what I run in this particular block, although we have ran different combinations, and I do have another block that's running FD3S rotors in there. Each one of them provides a little bit different compression, a little bit different power and response, and also they're structurally different. The Series 4 rotors were one of the thickest castings, very strong rotor. They were in abundance. The third generation rotor is a little bit lighter, still very strong. RX8's the lightest rotors, but also one of the weakest. So we've talked about that in some other videos, but for their strength and their plentifulness, a lot of my 20Bs have ran the Series 4 NA high compression second generation rotors. And a lot of the times we'll side cut those, lighten them, and obviously they're being balanced because especially with 3 rotors, the assemblies need to be very, very closely matched and balanced so you eliminate any type of torsional loading, imbalance, flexing of the shaft. All of that can lead to reduced reliability or potential parts wear and failure. So keeping things balanced, keeping things blueprinted, keeping things in check is always important. So you can see we've got the block in the car. We're talking about rotors. We do run an electric water pump. That water pump's actually in the back of the car with the cooling system. We've got our Mazda Speed dry sump up here. It's going to plumb up to our coolers, remote filter, and into the motor. Basically, we're coming from the mid section of the car, from the tank, into the motor, and then out of the motor into the filter cooler's tank. So that way, I had to think about that. So that way we're always filtering our oil as it's coming out of the motor before it hits the coolers, before it hits the tank, gets sucked back in. And we did go with a remote filter because we wanted increased capacity and because with the motor pushed back where we ended up pushing it to, per the Formula Drift rules, we still didn't have any oil filter clearance. So just kind of neat things about the car. If people are thinking about putting FD blocks or Cosmo blocks or 20B blocks in RX8s, they fit really well. But if you go back too far, you do run into oil filter tower clearances and firewall clearances. So we're going to do some more cleanup on that firewall as well. When it comes to mounting the motor, we went really simple. It is a race car, and we are running basically a 1/2-inch thick dry sump plate. And that dry sump plate, along with the studs, helps eliminate any type of torsional flexing of the block, loading of the block. The more stable you can keep multi-rotor blocks, the better off you're going to be. So you'll see a lot of high-end builds, a lot of high-end race cars, often with thicker dry sump plates than they probably need when it comes to rotaries, because along with studding, along with solid dowels, I've even seen block girdles, like drag racing style, to help hold blocks together. But basically the whole goal is to eliminate flex, eliminate twist, and stop the rotor housings from trying to push outward against the cast iron plates. So to keep a block reliable, all of those things come into play. And then with drifting, you've got a lot of clutch kicking, a lot of drivetrain loading. So with us being solid mounted, with the trans being solid mounted, the diff solid mounted, with all of that force, we went overkill with our dry sump plate to just make sure that all of that load could be absorbed into the car, into the chassis, and transferred into the back tires as drive force, not just drivetrain load. So kind of cool things about the car. I don't often talk about like the mounting aspect. It's also a BMW power steering rack that's part of the WiseFab suspension kit. We do use those BMW racks and that mounting kit in other RX8 applications because it is just such a nice kit, such a great option if you're not running an OEM power steering rack anymore. And if people want to know more about that, we could definitely focus more attention on that because it is a neat modification. But I figured I would give the update while I had a moment of silence in the shop because it's going to get busy soon, and just say the updates. We're aero kitted up, the block's in the car. We're going out for wrap really soon, and in the next day, we're going to be putting all of the turbo intake manifolding and putting all of the plumbing on, like our intercooler pipes, fuel lines, oil lines, water lines. Everything's got to get connected. I'll try to catch some time lapse. Make sure to watch the channel. Thank you so much for enjoying what we do, supporting the channel. It's really just me, my friends, my family, building this race car, having a good time at the shop while I build rotary engines and talk about the experience that we've got from 20 years at Mazda Tricks and 20 years of rotary racing. We're just out here having a good time, sharing what we know, sharing what we've learned. So I think that's a wrap. I'm going to get back to work, let the team get busy, start making some noise. Thanks for watching.